Watch Fox News at 10.
Well, I don't agree with what he said, but I think they ought to get off his back and let him do his job.
The local community voicing their opinions after a former president talks about Congressman Joe Wilson's outburst on Capitol Hill. Good evening. Congressman Joe Wilson's outburst last Wednesday still has a lot of people talking, and the conversation has turned to a sensitive issue, racism.
Former President Jimmy Carter's remarks in Atlanta last night have sparked a debate about the role that race plays in Southern politics. Now, President Carter did not call Joe Wilson a racist, but says that some people across this country still have not fully accepted that their president is a black man. Race and Southern politics in tonight's top story.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
This infamous outburst against America's 44th president is now generating what some would call an infamous conversation. The topic, race. The igniting spark, America's 39th president.
There is an inherent feeling among many people in this country that an African-American ought not to be president.
Former President Jimmy Carter speaking in Atlanta Tuesday night, telling his audience that some people don't think President Obama, as an African-American, should receive the same respect as a white president.
And this has permeated politics ever since I've been involved in it back in the 1960s.
There is clearly racism still at work in South Carolina politics.
Dr. Lacey Ford chairs the USC History Department. He's written several books on slavery and race. He is not surprised that here in the Midlands, we encountered a woman who said this on camera.
And Jim Clyburn needs to go climb a tree. That's what he needs to do. Get back to his roots.
The majority of the citizens of the state, including people in both parties, would not support making statements like you heard earlier today. But there's still a significant minority of people who hold those views.
And they are all across the country. President Carter cites the many outbursts at town hall meetings, the signs calling President Obama a Nazi, and photos depicting him as Hitler as evidence.
Those kind of things are not just casual outcomes of a sincere debate over whether we should have a national program in health care or not.
As Dr. Ford and so many others have put it, we've come a long way, but obviously still have a long way to go.
Well, this topic is certainly generating a lot of discussion online. Here are some thoughts from our Facebook page. Wendy Cannell says, Jimmy Carter had no business getting involved with this.
John Adams writes, in part, Jimmy Carter should be ashamed of himself for ever trying to bring in racism. He is working against progress by saying those things.
And Richard Query also writes, saying, why is it when a Republican says something negative about a minority, it is racism? But when a Democrat does, it's okay.
And then Karen James writes us and says, I think Jimmy Carter should keep his mouth shut. Now, not everyone is up in arms over this issue and in a negative way against President Carter. Angela Heller writes, I appreciate his effort. I think he should have become involved. He probably felt compelled to speak up in hopes of calming the waters and bringing awareness to a subject that needs to be addressed openly.